Hello, this is so exciting. It's so fun to do the tech stuff and succeed. It doesn't always work every time, but it feels really satisfying when it does work. So here I am. Um, I have just created this masterclass, which I'm sharing with you. And it's really fascinating to actually allow myself to admit that I have some level of mastery and to hold a class or a workshop in a group format as opposed to working one on one with people. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to create the slides. And what's been interesting is when I've delivered it, um, it's also helped me to bring more awareness to myself, which is the best thing, isn't it? We teach what we most need to learn. So here we go. Um, I think you all know in this group that I'm a singer, and that's what I do for my job. And through my journey, I've discovered about the healing powers of the voice and the detrimental effects when we restrict our sounds, and the benefits of liberating our sounds. So I'm going to share with you my slides. Oh no, that's not how it's going to go. Oops. So let me get into the share. Oh, what a shame. That's not such a good start, is it? There is my presentation. You get to see all of that. There we go. There it is. There's my presentation. So this is me. I like this picture because it has me singing live in a church, and this is that's why it's a blurry picture. It's an action shot, and I'm actually singing "Feeling Good," and I'm feeling good in the pulpit, and yeah, I'm getting everyone to sing. Echo me back. So I'm singing, it's a new day. And they're going, it's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. Like that. And it's very exciting. So, yeah, I thought I'd show you that. Now, did you know that the throat chakra is the chakra of manifestation? So communication is manifestation. So interesting. So we come up with our ideas. We create ideas in our sacral chakra, which is where the womb area would be in a woman, but this is the chakra for all beings, where our ideas are created. And for us to give birth to our ideas, we literally have to speak them out, and this is where the throat gets involved. So, for example, you've invented something. Now, how's anyone going to ever know that you've invented something? You have to say. Or marketing, like marketing is sharing your ideas. There's nothing that can't be shared. It needs to be. We need to use words to share our ideas, and so what happens is that we need to keep this area nice and open. Um, and yeah, I prepared this workshop for women, and the female reproductive organs are related to the mouth. And I can only imagine, because I'm still waiting to find out from other researchers, that all reproductive organs are related to the mouth. And so one of the things that we want to be aware of is that if our throat is shut down, then we are shutting down the birthing of our ideas, the making them into manifest. And so, yeah, it's good to see you. So yeah, basically we need to be aware of our bodies and our throats. And one of the things that is a doorway, you can imagine, of your expression from your throat. Your mouth is a doorway and your jaw needs to be relaxed. So I notice in myself and others, when our jaws are tight. We're like, we've got clenched jaws. We're stopping ourselves from speaking out. Like, even metaphorically, that sounds right, but even physically, also stops our inhalation and exhalation. So one of the first things that I would suggest we do is pay attention to our jaws. So even now, you could pay attention to your jaw. And now it's so easy to have your teeth clenched. Some people, I'm still learning to stop clenching my jaw at night. So in the morning when I wake up, I relax my jaw. And the thing is, people, is this whole class, this whole webinar is going to encourage us to do more noticing. We have to notice what we are doing with our bodies and choose, is this what we really want to be doing? So let me share my next slide with you. There we go. I'm going to free our voice and birth our visions. And that's a lot done with noticing. Noticing how we are holding, our self shut, how we're closing our throat chakra. And if we choose to do it, or if we would like to open it. And this is like massive, it's massively metaphorical. Anyway, let me come back and look at you. So when a baby comes out and it cries for the first time, it's actually called Vaginitis. And the caregivers are relieved. They're like, yes, baby's alive. Because actually that first cry lets go of the mucus and the liquid, because they've been living in a bubble of liquid, right, until then. So that first cry is an expulsion of those liquids and an intake of the first breath. So, people are waiting. Please make that sound. And then we know you're alive and you're breathing and your lungs are working properly. Hooray, they cried. Fast forward. And, we're all told to be quiet. Everyone I know has been told to be quiet as a baby, as a toddler. Sometimes it's like a gentle shh, and other times it's like, shut up. And this is our experience. I think this is a very Western, I can only speak for the culture that I've grown up in, experience. And so we need to now understand, as we are adults, that whether we choose to be as quiet as we were told to be as children. So some of the generations, there are sayings like children should be seen and not heard. Don't speak to me like that. There's just so many things. And so we're just going to decide for ourselves, do I choose these things or not? And what we need to do that is to notice the thoughts that are running through our heads that stop us from expressing ourselves, and decide, are these something that I want? Are these thoughts that I'd actually like to harbor, encourage, or are these thoughts that have been given to me from my childhood that no longer serve me? It's so important. So yeah, I'm here to encourage you to free your voice. So by allowing ourselves to have our free expression, we can unlock pain. We can unlock physical pain, emotional pain. We can hear ourselves. We can hear our ideas. And we also are allowing ourselves to be heard by others. So when I've worked with people and I've done some work around releasing their sound, body pains can disappear. I had a client recently and they were wearing a back brace when we had our lesson. And then whatever we did, a little while later, they realized that they didn't need the back brace anymore. And it's amazing, but these suppressions that we have when we're children, they really do affect us deeply in our body. So they create these tensions, not just in your throat, but it can affect your whole body. I've had some amazing results of people where I've actually allowed them to free their voice. And, you know, people look at me, I'm a singer, they're like, yeah, give me a singing lesson. But this is another level. I'm telling you, it's just another level. It's beyond singing. To me, it's more important than singing. And so, yeah, I've got to show you my next slide. Yeah. So this is the bit where it would be really useful if you did have a pen or a writing implement and to write down these sounds. Now, it's good to have this list. I'm going to demonstrate some of the sounds and then I'm going to get you to make them too, right? Now, the good thing about if you have the facility to take notes is you can notice what happens when you witness me making the sounds and what happens when you attempt to make them. So you may feel fine about making the sounds and you may not even be able to make them. And all of these things are interesting, right? So you can observe yourself, make an observation about how you're feeling, what you're doing in this moment. But also, if you were to come back and come and do it again another time, you can decide. You can alter. You know, what do I choose? What do I really want to feel? What don't I want to feel? Do I choose this as something that was given to me? And then you can come back and do it again. So I really recommend coming back to the sounds, coming back to anything that you do with your voice, whether it's singing or not, and just assessing the judgments. I'm so into getting my clients to actually record what's going on in their head. They don't have to write it down really. It can, when we're having private sessions, then you can tell me what's going on inside your head and we're going to start to decide, is this what I want? So this is fun and also maybe not. So I call them the ugly sounds. They're not ugly. They're just not necessarily accepted by society. And when I've done this workshop, I've done aspects of this in workshops, and I've done this set of 5 sounds with people, and some different people find different sounds offensive. There's no way of actually knowing what somebody else is going to feel about these sounds, and so therefore there is some kind of social, we have to work with the social etiquette really. There's no way to avoid sound is invasive, right? So it's a bit like, I use the analogy of cigarette smoke. You know, you can't keep it to yourself. So other art forms can be compartmentalized. Sound isn't one of them. So there are ways that we're going to have to find to allow ourselves. Sometimes we have to find places where we can do these things. That's another reason why I love my bath ceremonies, and just say the bathroom is somewhere where I make these sounds. People in my house know. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But also the countryside, the car, when no one's around. Sometimes you'll need to be in private to make these sounds, just because socially there are some, I mean, people really do get upset by some of this stuff. And then, but that's also for you to assess. Do I choose to mute myself so that socially it's more accommodating to other people or not? It's a choice. And the only way we can make those choices is by noticing rather than just automatically slipping into what we were taught when we were young. So are you ready? Ugly sounds, okay? So I'm going to make the sounds and then I'm going to encourage you to do it. Sighing, numero uno. Sighing. Now, sighing is meowing. So sighing, I think there's a few different types of sighs. I look at about 3. And the first one is the sigh of relief. You could have a go. It's like the sound you make when you come home from a really hard day, or when you finished a job and you're done and you like can sit back in the chair and go, ah. It's funny, but sometimes we don't even do that. You could have a go and take a note, perhaps. So that's one sigh. The second one is the sigh of frustration. Now, this one in England, uh, people, I'll just give you a scenario on the train in London, and somebody's sort of standing in your way, or they're making noise that you don't want to hear. And people don't go, "Can you just be quiet, please?" Or "Can you move out the way?" They just go, "Ah." That's one frustration sound. Is another one. You have a go. Um, it demonstrates a lot. There's a lot of things that you can put in a sound that doesn't have words, and you might not need to qualify. But the most important thing is to allow yourself to do it and observe about how you feel or how you felt when I did it. And then the third version of the sigh is the pleasure sigh. Ah, which is slightly the one, slightly this third part here, but that's just the general pleasure sigh. So I have a situation sometimes, and it might just be when I'm getting a massage, like how I'm getting better. I'm learning this, and that's why I'm teaching it, right? It's really useful. But to notice my mind, say if I'm getting a massage, I don't, like, oh gosh, I don't want to give the wrong signals to my like, oh my God, they're turning me on or something. But why not go when you're getting a? So yeah, have a go. So there's so many times that we might have used all of those sides, and we can just decide: do we choose to do this? Do we choose not to do this? Can we have an effect? Can we cause an effect? How we use these sounds. So that's sighing. Number two, I did a workshop recently at yoga camp, and it was so good because I had everybody crying like the toddler, the child, like those annoying children that are really crying loudly, which we've all been pretty much, right? And then we just allowed ourselves to make that sound. So I'm going to do it, and you can have a go. It's so cathartic, but it's just not acceptable, right? But how about you had a go? I'd love to know how that is for you. And screaming is another one. So it's important to let these out. I use my bath ceremonies, and I encourage you to do the same because it really helps. And regular practice of these things is good. Um, I'll talk more about it in a bit. So that's crying, wailing, and screaming. I'm not going to scream now for your poor little ears. Um, the third one is pleasure sounds, and specifically, I'm talking about sex here. So, what do you like when you're making love? Do you do it loud? Do you do it quiet? Um, I get ashamed if I think some people are going to hear me, the children or the neighbors. I'm still learning to free this one up, and but I'm going to do it now. And when I did this workshop the other day, we all did it. It was so much fun. Ah, ah, ah. Yeah, that's enough for me. So, what do you witness when you see me doing that? And what are you doing it now? It makes me feel pleasure when I do that. Um, why on earth would I stop myself? And that's the question. There's the question. Okay, the fourth one is quite hard to demonstrate, I've discovered, because this is for me, this is an involuntary sound I make when I'm enjoying food. So I can't really fake it. Um, but you can cook for me and you kind of know if I'm enjoying it or not because I'm making the sound. But what I've learned is that some people say that's rude, bad table manners. So I don't know if you can just do it now. This is the hardest one for me to demonstrate. It's so genuine. I can't do it. But again, it's like is this table manners that I've been given, or are they table manners that I've chosen? When I'm enjoying something, can I make those sounds? Is it okay? Am I choosing for it to be okay? And the last one is a belch, which I call burping. And I'm quite good at this these days. When I work with people and I tune into their energy, I burp sometimes when the energy's moving, and also when I'm shifting energy. Like if I've got knots and I'm tuning in and I'm releasing the knots in me, I'll burp. I can just demonstrate it. They're always there. So how do you feel about burps? Because I mean, I know some people who think it's disgusting. Like if I'm working with energy, they're going to come out like that, like so much. Again, make a decision. Can you do it? Okay. Let me see you again. So they're the ugly sounds. And so it's really interesting to start noticing in society, noticing other people, like who is free with those sounds and who isn't. How do you feel when you hear other people do it? What is it like with children? Where do you draw the line? Is there like an age line where you're not allowed to do these things? But just make the choice. Yeah. So, okay, next slide. My bath. So, I love using the bath. Yeah, I love using the bathroom, and I encourage you to do the same. If you do have a car, you can go in nature and be on your own. They're also good places. But I wanted to explain my bath and my album because so the album is 4 M's like this, and you can find it everywhere nowadays. It's called mantras. It's called Mantras, Meditations, and Mindful Moments. And I created a vocal toning body scan on there, which I'm going to explain that to you. So as well as the other sounds I've mentioned, like I'll tell you the backstory of how I've got into the whole water and sound thing, right? Many years ago, I used to go out clubbing to drum and bass, and yeah, I'm gonna look at you again. Yeah, so I used to go out clubbing to drum and bass, and I used to stand by the speakers and put my back next to them, and then and I'd kind of like angle my back round so I could get massaged by the bass lines. And I've observed that if you put a glass of water in front of those speakers, especially the louder the music is, you can see the water rippling, the effect of the water rippling. So that was quite a long time ago that I saw all of that. So I figured that I could use the sound to give me massages. Fast forward, and then I was singing in a band, and the one time the band was so loud I strained my voice. And my singing teacher at the time, who's amazing, she suggested that I spend 15 minutes in a hot bath or shower with the door shut in a steamy space, right? And that's kind of where I started to learn that spas were a really good place to do good things for your voice. And fast forward, I was in India working in a hotel as a singer, and every day before I went to work, I'd go in the spa and I'd be in the steam room or the jacuzzi, and I'd start toning. So toning is, well, it can be any sound really, but I used the R as a main sound, right? So and I'm imagining and kind of knowing that the wave, the sound wave, right, is causing a vibration in me. It's and so it's a bit like massage. It's an internal sonic massage, and the way that the sound affects water if you remember when I mentioned about the glass next to the speaker, I realized that the sound was undulating the water. And since I've got water running through all my cells, that the sound was giving me some internal massage. And that's how come I've just got really into spas and sound and steam, and that's why I've created the bath. And you know, if I get to go to a spa sometime, then I'm usually and I get to be alone. You'll catch me making these sounds, and then I learned that I could direct the sounds to different parts of my body and give myself like directional. This was also in India that I learned this. Um, you know, one of the things we have to do, one of the noticing that we need to do with it just helps in life in general is like, where am I holding tension that I don't need to be holding, right? And then you can send sound into the places in your body where you hold tension. So I'd sort of sing a gig, and then, you know, my singing teacher helped me to see all the little habits of tension. You know, I mentioned the jaw earlier. She helped me to notice that I was clenching my jaw, you know, right now I can feel a bit of a tension in my shoulder, and I know that for years I used to speak with my shoulders, so I'd be up and down here, and then it would be tense. So I'd sing my gigs with my shoulders, and then I'd spend the time in the spa sending the sound into the places where the tension was, and then I'd even sing from the shoulder. I'd say direct every word like I'm doing right now. I'm directing all my words into my hand here on my shoulder, and I can just, it's like rooting, it's like causing the sound to root through, the sound vibration to root through into the part of my body that I want it to. It takes practice, but it isn't as hard as you might consider it to be. But the bathroom is a great place to do that, and especially the bath, because in the bath you're lying down. So when I created my album, I created a vocal toning body scan, which basically sent the sound through each part of my body. So just using the R, you can start with the R and direct it to different parts of your body. You can use your hand so you can feel if the sound makes it up there, and it sometimes does and it sometimes doesn't, but it definitely improves with practice. There's practicing. So yeah, so you could listen to that and practice doing it anywhere. The vocal toning body scan on the meditation album is useful. It's quite short as well. I do it in the car and all sorts. So that's one thing. And then when you do the bath ceremonies with me, then I guide you to do a little bit of that toning, and you can do all of ugly sounds and any of these sounds. The bathroom is a great place, and like I've done, you can train other people to get used to that happening when you're in the bathroom. You do it just as good, almost as good in the shower. So the noticing, for example, for me, I'm doing these baths and I'm running these ceremonies every new moon and full moon, that are really accessible to join in. And also I do one-on-ones. And if you do a one-on-one with me, I can feel, even on Zoom, I can tune in to your body, and I can tell you where I think you could direct your sound. I can even feel my clients releasing their own tension in their body from wherever they are in the world across Zoom. I can feel when it loosens. So yeah, noticing. For me, for example, noticing how ashamed I feel. Shame is such a big factor of why we're holding in our sound, people. So I notice how that shifts with time, with practice, and allow myself more freedom with practice. So yeah, I would really encourage you to give it a go. Using the bathroom is great, and using the steam is great. Okay. Next slide. Mantra. Okay, let me Look at you again. So mantra is a very useful thing. Now, there's a guy called Emoto. He's a Japanese scientist, and he measured different words, different music beside water that were being said or played to water, and photographed the crystals, the water crystals, which change shape. And so far as we know, as far as I know, water carries memory. Yeah, so it carries memory of words. It's affected by words. So knowing this, I love the relationship with water so much, and I like to infuse the water. So if it's a bath ceremony, for example, I like to infuse the water with love energy and love words. My song "Love Is Everywhere," I usually play that at the beginning of the ceremony, and infuse the water with the love energy. And then the next part of my bath ceremony, I put intentions in, and I affect the water like that. Now, mantra is a repeating phrase that has an effect, long-lasting effect. Everything that we repeat is more embedded. Yeah. So by using mantra, I like to think that we are affecting the waters in us, that we're affecting the water crystals in us. So, what a good idea! Let's do that then. And I'd like to share with you this mantra. This is the All Is One mantra that's also on my album. And I want to share the idea behind it, because not just because of the mantra itself, but the concept can help in how we frame our judgments of ourselves and each other, especially ourselves, because we're here trying to liberate our throats, right? Liberate our voices. So I came up with this. Funnily enough, I studied maths at university, and I don't know if this relates, but it sort of feels like it does. And I came up with this phrase, and it was like, if each and every one is one, but everyone is one, then 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is 1. And I made that up. I don't know, I was a teenager, late teens. And so in a way, this mantra is the same kind of thing. And it's, I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. That's one way of singing it. And there is another way of singing it, which I also, when I use mantra, I do it quite dull. I don't make a big melody with it. Sometimes do, but I actually like, I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. You can try it. I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. That's that way. And the other way is, I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. You can do it. I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. So I use mantra. I haven't got my mala on me, but let's pretend this is a mala. And when I use mantra to warm up my voice, more likely to use the boring version. And I use the beads on my mala, which has got 108 beads. And I sing the same thing 108 times to warm up my voice. I recommend this, man, especially the ones on my album. They're really good. I've got one that goes, everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. Or I could sing it in different ways. It really is good to. What's great about singing one in English is you know what you're saying, and you know, when I sing everything always works out for me 108 times, I start to believe it. Anyway, I'm going off track. So this mantra, why it's important, is because sometimes it's quite hard to love ourselves or approve of ourselves, but it might be easier to love or approve of another person. With every version of, if I am one and the other person is part of the one, then somehow I can access that love and care and acceptance through them or through me, or we are one. It could be like a family, or a community. It could be a race, a culture. Could be the planet Earth, it could be humans. Um, all is one could be the divine God. Um, yeah, so, we are one could be. We are one, or all is one can slightly interchange. They could be, if some people I was working with someone in one of my workshops, and they didn't have a way into their own self-love, but they had so much love for planet Earth. And it's all the same, right? They're all parts of the same oneness. So finding a way to feel acceptance and then connecting the bits that feel disconnected through this point of oneness can really help with our judgment. So I'm back. Okay, so yeah, so now the last part of this, right, is to get yourself recorded. So we need to work with this judgment that I'm talking about here, this separation, this something that we might approve of in one. Like we can approve of the baby crying, but we can't approve of a toddler crying. And we certainly might not be able to approve of ourselves crying really loud, But then at the same time, you might have compassion for a friend of yours who's wailing, but you wouldn't give yourself that same level of compassion if it was you who was wailing. There's that sort of practice that we need to kind of observe and choose and notice. Is this what I actually choose for myself, or is this something that I'm just automatically slipping into from judgments that were thrown at me when I was younger? And so this is also now moving into your recording of your own voice. Now, I'm not talking about recording yourself singing or making an album or nothing like that. I'm talking about hearing yourself. Yeah, hearing yourself speak or sing. I think singing is a better way to do it because, on a basic level, I've had clients who could never even do an Om in a yoga class, or, let alone sing a mantra or something. But I really recommend what's so important about this whole masterclass is noticing these judgments in your head and noticing if you really want them or not, and how they're stopping you. Every single judgment, every single time you mute yourself, you're stopping your ideas coming into manifestation. You're stopping the birthing of your brilliance. And that's why this is so important. It almost makes me want to cry to share with you. So now, if you get a recording device, which could just be your phone, these days most people have a smartphone, but even if you didn't, I think even unsmartphones have a recording device these days. You could leave someone a message and listen back to it, or leave yourself a message and listen back to it. And then just notice. You've got to start noticing the judgments. Again, you can write down and you can come back and see what you can change about it. But this is where I use that mantra, the all is one mantra. So you could record yourself, and you could record yourself singing something basic, or it could be this: I am one, you are one, we are one, all is one. Like, you see, that's no music really involved in that. It's just monotone. It's not like musical acrobatics. And just hear yourself back and listen and notice the judgments that come out into your head. Now, first of all, everybody's voice recorded is not the same as they hear from in the ears as they deliver, and that's because your skull is vibrating, right? So you're hearing the vibration in your skull as well as the sound that's coming out of your mouth. And as soon as you put it in a recording, you don't hear that. You only hear your the external part of your voice. So first of all, it takes a bit of getting used to hearing the voice that comes out that other people hear, as much as cameras never lie, recording. Yeah. And then what you need to do is listen to that and notice the judgments, and just think, well, if that was my child, if that was my best friend, would I judge it in the same way? If I could separate, it's because it's the oneness. It's that I am one, you are one. That when I record, and it's always her. Like, well, I'll listen back to this podcast, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, when she did that, she said this. And I separate myself quite a lot from my own recordings, from filming, even in the mirror. If I do mirror work, which I do with my clients, it's her in the mirror. And it's like, would I talk to, if that was my friend that I just listened to, that I just recorded, would I still use those judgmental statements and words? And or maybe it would be different people. So you might be like one way with one friend and different way with a family member, or somehow we need to find our way into accepting ourselves with compassion, with kindness, and with a little bit of separation. And that's really important. So you can come back and do that again and again. You can listen to her or him, them, and say, okay, how do I feel about them if they're not me? And just start to build a relationship with the sound of your own voice. I really recommend it. So you can do it by video as well. You can use social media, you can use anything, but just start to really notice, what are the judgments? Do I choose this? Is this what I really want? And I wish you all the best with that. Okay. So I really love to work with people, and these are the different ways that you can work with me. Now, I've set up my Patreon at last, and it's the best bargain, the best way to use what I have to offer. Yeah. So, for example, I mean, I'm going to start here, even though it's not the first thing I wrote. So, following my journey, so I'm still learning to liberate myself. I think you've heard me talk about pleasure sounds and crying out loud in the bath, and even this, speaking up and showing that I have knowledge to share. It's all an experience. And for me, freeing my voice is also allowing myself to produce music and be a musical creator. So, you can follow my journey. And on my Patreon campaign, this is the best way you can do it, because for £5 a month, you can get all the insights into that, and that includes my confidence, my creations, and the rock and roll aspects as well. And then the baths, right? So these are happening every new moon and every full moon, as well as I'm always available, well, not always, to do one-on-one baths where you're in your bath and I guide you. But if you did subscribe to my Patreon, for the second tier, the £10 a month tier, you'd get to join one of these every month, as well as following my journey. And that also, I do an online, once a month online concert that you can involve yourself in terms of choosing songs that I might sing and sharing the link with your friends and meeting them, coming, using me as entertainment once a month. And then, so then the voice sessions is the fourth tier. Oh, yes. You have to read it yourself, really, because there's a chance to do 2 lots of baths. Then there's a chance to be in mastermind groups. That's the third tier, where we discuss some topics about the kind of content I create. I make records quite frequently. And the subjects, for me, that subject, that mantra, that all is one mantra, I'm so fascinated about what connects us and what separates us. And I can put whatever I want into the songs. When an artist says to me, oh, here's some music, would you like to write on it? I can choose any subject. So one of the mastermind groups I'm going to be doing in the third tier upwards is talking about content, like what subjects really interest us. And you can do 2 baths a month for the £20 a month tier. And the voice sessions, now this is the £100 a month. You have 1 session with me, one-on-one, and you get everything else. You get my downloads, my journey, you be in the mastermind groups, and there's a small group of other people who are also liberating their voice that will come together once a month and just share and encourage each other and discuss. So I'm very excited about all of these things. You could join on the Patreon. You can communicate with me directly, or you could come and visit me on my website, find out more, and yeah, talk to me direct. We could book a one-on-one session. You can work out some kind of classes with me. I love helping people to liberate their voices. It's so satisfying, and there's so much to it. But also, even one session can be great and helpful. So I hope this whole webinar has been of interest to you and of value to you. It certainly has been of value to me. It's helped me to even notice more of the habits that I have just by sharing this. And and I wish you more vocal liberation, and so that your ideas can be manifested and all your wonderfulness can be shared on this planet, in this existence, in this life. Thank you for joining me.